So hi guys, I'm going to do something different for my Epiphany project. I am going to do a video and explain my aha moment, which wasn't a really good aha moment. It was more an oh my god aha moment. There was technological problems last week when I had to hand in my 5Cs project, and those technological problems can be summed up with the following picture. My account got suspended. And not only did my Storyfy account, where I had curated and amassed a bunch of different tools, a bunch of different content knowledge, a bunch of different resources been suspended, there was no explanation given, and I didn't know if the professor was going to be able to view the project. So I was literally left in the dark about how to proceed with my project, because not only was the platform unable to provide a direct explanation or a direct consequence of why my account had been suspended, it didn't provide me a timeline of when it would come back. The funny thing is that, as you can see, it says that it's been suspended for reported violations of copyright infringement or terms of service. And when I checked out all the resources I had, they were all news articles or YouTube videos or Reddit pages that people could instantly access once they got into a Google search. It was probably the second or third item that they could find on a Google search. So this got me thinking. After the 5 minutes of, oh my god, I probably gotta fail this project, I emailed the professor, and I also wrote a complaint to Storyfy, which they didn't answer either, which didn't really help to the stress I was having. But the professor was very understanding, and we got down to the option of really just starting all over again. But luckily, Storyfy was able to give me access again to my page, and all the content was still there. And apparently, even though my account was suspended, the content was viewable. So at least under that situation, I was safe. But what happens when technology fails us? And how much does technology really affect a human being's life? And I can talk about personal experience. Without high-tech technology, I would be very lost. I have a cell phone that reminds me of everything that I do, all the meetings that I have, all the assignments I have due. My computer is basically this giant depository of information where I have the classes that I teach, the papers that I've written. It has almost 6 years of my life. Ever since halfway through my undergrad, I've been storing information on OneDrive, on Google Docs, on Google Drive, and it's really made me understand, or this event made me understand, how technology can really limit education, and technology can affect the way not only how I learn, but also how I teach. So this Epiphany project, or this aha moment, is going to present the 5 ways in which technology is affecting education. So the first one is crutches. Technology sometimes crutches education, and I'm taking another education course, TCH 579, and this has come up often, especially when we're focusing on specific need-to-know information that students can just Google, or that the technology automatically does for them. For example, spelling in Microsoft Word. I don't really learn I'm not really up to date on spelling on either English or Spanish, because Microsoft Word does the spelling for me. If I write a word that is not spelled correctly, it will just automatically change the correct word with the accent, or it will just suggest the 4 or 5 closest words that fit into not only the definition, but also the sentence structure. So technology definitely is hindering on our ability to spell our language. And some linguists might think that that's not really the case, that language is something very fluid, ever evolving, so what we're going is through a language evolution. But the reality is that I can't spell, and it happens to me when I'm teaching, when I'm writing on the board. Sometimes I can't spell basic words because I can't remember how to write them, because I just write them however I feel like it, and Word is able to process the data for me. Another issue that we're having is the fact that through Google, students can just get out of assignments. I remember having teachers just download tests from websites that were created for test takers and for practice tests. For example, I can download a lot of literature-based tests and have the keys right next to me. So, and students are able to research those tests as well because they are readily available through Google. So technology is really, or the internet's really giving us some crutches or creating some problems that we can't fix in just a 5-minute or 10-minute ideas, creating long-term problems or without long-term solutions. So another way that we're having crutches with technology is the fact that students are, in essence, just going into a lot of different venues through the use of technology. I can remember a few years back being in my master's class and everybody was checking their emails or doing something different instead of paying attention to the professor. Now, relying on technology can also lead to the second most common technological problem in education, and it's that sometimes it crashes. It happened to me. So my Storify account got blocked. I didn't have access to my resources. I didn't have access to my activities. I was thinking I was probably going to fail the class. I failed the project. So to me, my life was done at that point. Or at least the life of my project at that point was done. But I can just start thinking, what would happen if my OneDrive folders, where I have most of the information from this university stored in them, what if they all got erased? What if my Google Drive, where I have my master's thesis and my master's work, got erased? That would mean that all my academic work from 2012 onwards would be gone. And that's a problem because I think that I need those resources not only to continue teaching, but also to reflect on how I've grown as a teacher, how I've grown as a writer. And sometimes you can get good ideas from those really early drafts of your thesis or really early drafts of other papers that you were writing for other classes. And I could just imagine being in a classroom with a projector and having 24 laptops and students getting really into the project, and all of a sudden, boom, blue screen of death on all 24 computers, or the projector's light bulb explodes or doesn't work anymore. So there are very serious and large limits to having all these technological advancements and all of them all of a sudden crashing, which is something that can happen at any moment, especially if you're using particularly your PC or your Microsoft Office tools. Those are, since they're more famous and they're easily more accessible, they are easier to crash and easier to hack into and exploit viruses, exploit their firewall weaknesses. So these are things that can happen at any moment in your classroom. And do we really think about having a plan B if our 24 laptops or our iPads or the new technologies that we're using at that moment crashed out? I at least don't have one. And most of the classmates that I talk to don't really have a plan B when they're using that type of technology. They may have other apps, but they may not have a worksheet ready, or they may not have a secondary plan once your iPad crashes or your computer crashes. Item number 3, though, is very interesting, which is actually going back to old technology. And the technological issues here is that sometimes teachers are not aware or have not had enough professional practice on the new technologies, which limits them on their ability to use these technologies. I had a professor in my master's program that he had a full PC at his disposal, desktop, a projector, Project Gutenberg, all these nice goodies, and he still carried out one of these. That is a transparency projector. He would carry one in his briefcase, and he would go back and forth from his office because he did not understand technology. So it goes into the fact that technology is growing so fast and it's going at the speed of light that we aren't really up to date on all the technological advancements. Especially with prices changing with each technological advancements, we don't know what could be incorporated into a classroom more efficiently, or what could be incorporated to the entire school more efficiently. I used to think that tablets in schools were going to take at least a few more years. Now I'm seeing that students not only have tablets, but they also have 2-in-1 computers that are laptops and tablets at the same time. So technology is really going at the speed of light, and it's really hard to maintain and stay up to date on all the technological goodies that there are out there. Not only in the terms of physical technologies, but also as we have seen in this class, there are a lot of other technologies that really nobody's really made aware of, or at least schools and educators are not made aware of until they have to take a class like this one to know what's out there. And major issue number 4 with technology is social media. Especially when you have younger students. Who am I kidding? Especially when you have students, even older students, when they're bored, when they're not interested on a subject, they go into their Twitter accounts, they go into their Facebook pages. If they have a job that has Google Plus, or they go into their Pinterest pages, they go all around social media in order to entertain themselves, and it could be a distraction. I've had colleagues and classmates that go on to have addiction to social media, and it becomes a real big distraction in their classes, and it becomes a real big distraction in their lives. So technology does hinder our ability to keep intact or keep in focus what we're doing for a specific set of time. And as I've been doing this video, I've probably heard 5 pings from a Facebook post, 17 pings from a Twitter. I have 3 Twitter accounts. One of them is a sports account that's linked to, so it's probably just retweets. But I've had more social media notifications and emails that have really tilted a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed, but all those pings are constantly interjecting into what I'm doing. If it's writing a paper, if it's reading for a class, there's this constant distraction that makes it hard to focus. Which then leads to the final point that I want to discuss in this video, and it's the fix-it-all aspect of technology. How we're trying to get technology to be the easy solution to every single problem that we've had in education. And that's not the goal of technology. Technology is there to be a resource, to be a tool, not to be a substitute to textbooks, not to be a substitute to lecture, not to be a substitute to those things that are part of a good pedagogy, that are part of a good practice. Technology is there to be an addition to those good practices. And unfortunately, more and more teachers that don't take classes like these and that go into professional development, for some strange reason, think that technology is just the greatest band-aid ever created to fix the deep cut that is the education problem right now in the United States. And that's not the reality. Technology is here to help us grow as individuals and grow as educators, but it's just a tool. It's not a one-step or a one-way fix-all that leads us to becoming better teachers, to students becoming better students. It's just a way to do those things. And unfortunately, technology and the way it's being marketed does lend itself to be thought of as a fix-it-all aspect or as a fix-it-all tool, when it's really not that. So I think that we need to rethink the way we look at technology and rethink our best practices. Because sometimes when we become too technologically dependent, blue screens of death and account suspicions start to happen. And I've learned my lesson. Right now I'm trying to create not only a physical database or backup plans for my courses and every single piece of data that I've created or merged, I am also starting to create activities that will more or less substitute my technological use in the classroom. So if I don't have those 20 iPads or those 20 PCs, I can still have an activity, a fun activity where the students create their technology in order to learn and reach the same objectives. It's not just a worksheet. I think that we need to move into a little bit more constructive roles too, and have them, even though they're college students, play with construction paper, play with crayons, play with markers. And remember that the important thing is that they learn while they're doing something, no because they're doing something. It's not because of the technology, it's through the technology